I just read through This Week in Destiny, and I have to talk about it, but there's very specific things that I want to talk about. This one's so long, a lot of words, a lot of sections, and I'm going to talk about a couple briefly. But where I think this thing really starts and what I really want to talk about and pay attention is the Crucible Sandbox section. It's from the PvP Strike team, and what's talked about here, I think sets the foundation, the base, to start talking about some of the other things. And they say there's more to come in the upcoming weeks. But they say that the sandbox currently faces a number of issues, and what I think happened here is the sandbox has gone through many different iterations. There was a PvP team, there wasn't one. There is one, there wasn't one. There's a strike team. And over the years, there's either been band-aids, there's been instances of power creep, some things they let go for too long, some things they took away. But they say that the current sandbox faces a number of issues. And what's talked about today is going to be a large macro pass designed to begin addressing several of the concerns. And there's going to be additional micro tuning in the future. And note, the sandbox they're talking about is going to be for everyone, not veterans with 2,000 plus hours or new lights. They want to address them the best they can and start balancing this thing out. So their goals: number one, help players to clearly understand the sequence of events that led to their death. That way they can more easily learn how to improve. Two, alter the weapon sandbox to account for the increased average skill of the player base by reducing the amount of high skill, low reward risk options. And three, encouraging primary weapon mastery to be aspirational. They say as they've increased the prevalence and strength of some sandbox elements, the ability to clearly understand what's happening from a target's perspective has suffered. So essentially, they say while the average skill gap of players has crept up over the years, the weapon sandbox hasn't grown. And we know that, like, a lot of players can hit optimal TTK for SMGs, peak shot with hand cannons, blint with bows. We've known there's a large amount of forgiveness baked into these things ever since the start of Vanilla D2. High aim assist, high range, high crit ratios, high body shot damage. And they say, like, precision SMGs, aggressive hand cannons, you only need 67% crit ratio to achieve your optimal TTK. Then we have things like the bow swaps and Ariana swaps. There's a lot of leniency that allows you to hit a TTK. You can make mistakes, we've all done it, but still have the full benefit of the playstyle, still hit your TTK and still move on. But they say the current ecosystem, a lot of the player base knows the game. They can take advantage of these things. And they say it's manifesting in multiple places. There's a significant compression and skill gap at high levels, which is very important that they point this out. They realize this, they acknowledge this. And the byproduct is the newer players don't really know what's going on. The veteran players have near mastery of all these existing playstyles. What's good? 2 crit, 1 body, from hand cannons, sniper body to a crit, list goes on and on. There's a lot of friction in refreshing the pool of players in the Crucible. With high levels of play, we have primary weapon flinch, high body shot damage, a lot of aim assist, low crit ratio requirements that you don't really want to put all your time into primary weapons. It's not worth the effort because they're going to do just fine, because they say that their optimal or near optimal TTKs, that mastery of these weapons is just expected. It's standard. You only need 67% crit ratio. You don't have to be precise. And at low levels of play, they can still lose to inaccurate people, and they're still wondering what they did wrong. So I see where they're going with this. Essentially, a near non-existent skill gap. There's a lot of cheesy things in the game. At the very start of the article, they talk about Threaded Spectre, Threadlings, on how that's taken over the Crucible. They've also changed that, but we know exactly the gist of this, right? If you're a Destiny veteran, you know the gist of what's being said here. They say the symptoms all generated by a handful of causes. So they're kind of linked to each other. There's a cycle. They have certain ability builds or builds with high uptime or higher potency that they believe is healthy. Like, I believe that the Radiant Frosty Hunter is one of the most destructive things in the game for the Crucible. Nobody really plays it, but it's a strong, high uptime loadout. And that goes for a number of different types of loadouts. There's also a ton of special ammo. Bricks on the ground. There's a lot of sniper body shots. It goes on and on. Snipers are oppressive. Shotguns are strong. Fusions are strong. We get it. I mean, the special weapons have always been a big part of Destiny's DNA. With all that going on, they needed to keep the primaries fast, lethal, but also forgiving because it's Destiny. All of that, the accumulation, has led to a high percentage of deaths and a sandbox where, from the target's perspective, it feels like there was nothing they could have done differently. They say, simply put, we have a risk versus reward problem. Over time, they push some of the sandbox elements to have higher rewards without offsetting them with the risk of punishing suboptimal play. So a big change, and this is 7.3.5 on March 5th, it's coming up. They've increased the player health by plus 30. And they're doing this, it gives them more of a lever. They can balance the current and future sandbox, increase or decrease lethality on multiple elements like grenades, body shot damage, all at once universally, and it makes a lot of sense. So player health is going to be increased by 30. We now have 100 total health with 116 to 130 shield. So a max resilience Titan is 230 health, and we haven't even taken into account an overshield. Now, they compensate for this in a second. We're going to go over it, but that 30 extra health, think how much Scorch does, burning, poison, body shots. They change the threadling damage. It's helping pad the player to where those hurt less. So to go with the plus 30 health, they're changing how our abilities function in the Crucible. They want a healthier ability uptime. So melee grenade class ability cooldowns, they all have a 15% penalty applied to them in the Crucible only. Super cooldowns now have a 20% penalty applied to them when it comes to the Crucible. So everything is 15% slower. The ability damage, they're accounting for the increased player health, the reduced uptime. The supers, makes sense. Supers, their damage is 31% more. The melee, the base melee is 16% more, and they made it to where the arc flux can still one-shot. So to compensate for this, and we're going to come back to it, they want to maintain the same optimal TTK rates as the current Sandbox with those new HP values, and they want to place an increased emphasis on precision. And we know those optimal TTK rates, right? 0.67, 0.8, 0.9, 1 second TTK. All primary weapons except for bows are going to have their crit damage increased. Bows actually have reduced base damage by 15%. So bows just kind of got nuked. But check this out. Pulse rifles, auto rifles, sidearms, scouts, they increase the crit damage by 14%. Hand cannons, they increase the critical damage by 10%. They reduce the body shot damage by 5%. They reduce the flinch dealt by projectile by 12.5%. So that's going to be good. But this is just one example. Like, this is how big that plus 30 health is in these changes. In the current Sandbox, Igneous Hammer, 120 hand cannon, 80 to the head, 50 to the body. It'll 2 crit 1 body, any resilience, 10 and below. In this new Sandbox, it's going to be doing 88 to the head because all hand cannons get that critical hit damage. There's a body shot reduction, so it's going to do 47.5. The 2 crit 1 body now is 223.5. And remember, we have a total of 230 health. It will not down any resilience anymore. You have to land all crits. So this is what they mean by an increased emphasis on precision. And that's just one example, because when we look at SMGs, they increase the critical hit damage by 12.5, but they reduce the body shot damage by 3%. A lot of our crit ratios are going to be changing or kind of being flipped upside down, and that's something to think about. So more health, more precision. They compensated for that health with some crit damage multipliers, and they also decreased the body shot damage on a couple of really good archetypes. But then we start getting into special ammo. They tested it in Crucible Labs. They're now bringing it forward, the special ammo meter. So you're going to start every game with 2 kills worth of special ammo for your weapon. So if it's a sniper, 2 shots, fusion, 2 shots, and so on. So instead of getting 2 kills worth of special ammo by bricks on the ground, or when you spawn back up, you're going to be earning that ammo by filling up the special ammo meter bar. It's a point-based system. Kills, assist, or completing objectives like a zone capture. Get 100 points, you get 2 kills worth of special ammo. So we go through all these values, but note, remember, kills from special ammo weapons and heavy ammo weapons do not grant any points towards special ammo meter progress. So everything but a special weapon, your primary weapon, your melee. If you jump off the map, it's going to take away progress. Ammo, again, not dropped on death. You're not going to lose special ammo that you've earned. And if you do earn special ammo, it will carry over between rounds. And if you swap from double primary to a special weapon, your special ammo meter progress is going to be kind of nullified. It's going to reset it. So to make up for that, trace, shotguns, fusions, their base damage increased by 20%, and glaives, projectile by 20, melee by 16. Heavy weapon archetypes, heavy GLs, reduced detonation damage by 5%, machine guns by 20% going up. They thought ahead about bypassing the special ammo economy. So Fighting Lion, decreased damage versus players by 20% in PvP. Devil's Ruin, the charged beam, deals 15% less. Crimson, they reduced the flinch dealt to players by projectile impact by 17.5%. Now that sounds like its own deal. Now, I'm not sure if that counts with the universal hand cannon flinch change. If it did, they just nuked Crimson, because one of the biggest things about Crimson is the ability to deal flinch, and it's going to be losing that. Forerunner, they increased the damage versus players by 20%, and Symmetry, the revolution damage is up to 16%. But when we go back earlier, so we have this new Sandbox, more health, higher overall, like, so I said 230, and then things like overshields and being in a well. Compensate for that, a lot of things are getting some crit increases, and there's going to be some TTK shifts as far as crit ratio. You're not going to be able to do crit 1 body. SMG TTK for your crit ratio, those are going to change too. And also keep in mind, the numbers get larger, so larger numbers are going to get larger, and this is what I mean. So a pulse rifle, its crit damage is being increased by 14%. So that larger number is starting higher. So if you apply kill clip to that, kill clip's going to be even higher, or adding radiant and golden tricorn. So it's like all going to work out, but this is a big change piled in, coexisting with special ammo. Some other things, target lock on SMGs, 12.5%. So basically target lock, not as good. I mean, but let's be real, SMGs are deadly. There's still kill clip. There's a ton of things. There's killing wins. They're going to be fine. Bait and switch, 35 to 30. It's still going to be good. 1-2 punch now correctly deactivates after dealing damage with the powered melee. Deconstruct, now going to work on Titan barricades. It's going to be a little bit better. Hatchling, I do want to point this out. It's either a precision kill or 3 non-precision kills from now on. That's a good thing. We have some things with origin traits. Text balance stock. It got better. Plus 20 range and a 1.5 degree hip fire precision cone angle in addition to the other effects. So it is going to be easier to land follow-up shots. Loose change, they're trying to make it better. Barrel constrictor. I think that this is going to make it a little bit more solid because it wasn't dependable. Like you got it was gone. It didn't really feel tangible. So now once you get a kill, it's going to stay up. It lasts for 7.5 seconds. It buffs all those shots fired in that time. Heal clip, one of my personal low-key favorite perks of the game, got better and now applies cure ×2, and your nearby allies get ×1. So that's nice. They also have some mana core changes, edge of action, Wish Ender, the True Sight B&D activated. That's definitely PvP focused with like Oath Keepers. PvE, it's going to be okay. Essentially, it's going to go away after 3 seconds. You have to fully redraw to reactivate it. Vigilance Wing got that deterministic recoil pattern. Hopefully they made it vertical. It'll make it a lot better to use. Dex got a buff. They increased the ADS damage fall scaler from 1.5 to 1.7. It's going to feel better than it already does, especially at range. The GL stuff, we're going to see how that goes. I think it's really important that we talk about the bow nerf real quick. They reduced the auto aim fall off distance from start to end by 15%, and they reduced the maximum auto aim cone size by 5%. So essentially, they made bows not hit as far, and they took away the aim assist to make them less effective at long range. Pretty much, you're going to have to be accurate. It's not going to gift headshots, at least in a perfect world. And remember, earlier we talked about they're getting a reduction in overall base damage by 50%. Breakneck's getting its 12th perk. Lightweight scout rifles. I'm extremely excited about this. They increased the base damage by 5%. And remember, down below, I believe that they're getting the 14% on the crit multiplier. It's going to allow you to 3 crit 1 body, something that's never been able to be done with these things. So Might is going to feel better. Taraxipos is going to be great. Can't wait for that. Sniper rifles, they feel that they're still oppressive. So keep in mind here, they're reducing the auto aim cone size by 10%. So they're making them slightly harder to use. They're nerfing their aim assist. This coexists with the body damage nerf. It coexists with the zoom change nerf. The lower zooms have less aim assist in the first place, and they're nerfing it even more. So they're trying to make them harder to use. As far as Mercy, Empyrean, Consecration, I mean, those are some good things that are going on, but the real meat of this, the most tangible thing, it all goes off of what we talked about here in this Crucible Sandbox section. And what I think happened, like when I read the summary is like, you know what? PvP strike team, we have them now. They're doing some things, but before, no team. Yes, we have a team. No team. Yes, we have some team. We're going fast. We're going slow. Like a lot of it was Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. And this feels like just an overall reset. And this reset, again, and they say it in the very first sentence, it's going to allow them to make the tweaks that they need. And with the abilities taking longer to get, your health going up, like chip damage from, let's say, a swarm grenade or a lightning grenade, grenades in general, body shots, they're going to mean something, but not as much as they do right now. So going forward, the overall sandbox is changed. And let's see what they have coming in the future. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. This is such a long this week in Destiny that I didn't want to go everything. I respect your time. I just want to talk about the main thing. And I think this Crucible Sandbox. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.